James earns millions from internet marketing. Tim's got millions of questions. Welcome to Freedom Ocean. Now, jump on in.
James Schramko, welcome back to the ocean, my friend.
G'day Timbo, how are you?
It's an absolute pleasure to see your shining dial again, and I am very well. This is an unusual episode. Well, before we actually start saying why it's unusual, we should welcome back our listeners to Australia's leading, most loved, most giving internet marketing show, Freedom Ocean.
Yeah, welcome listeners. Wow.
Who's that?
I don't know, it sounds like we've got visitors.
We have got visitors. And for everyone else listening who doesn't happen to be here from all around the world, we are sitting on some orange couches at FWF3, James' live event in Caloundra, Queensland, and we're in front of a live audience. So what doesn't everyone say? G'day.
Hey, look at that.
Look at that, hey?
So we're just, it's business as usual.
Mate, as usual, absolutely. Normally we would be, normally I'd be sprawled out on your lounge room floor or lying on a couch somewhere.
Feel free, I wouldn't mind.
I might. I get a bit
audience
uncomfortable as we go through the process of the episode, but we'll see. If I do move around, it's just because I think I'm, at home. I might put the bathrobe on. That wouldn't be pretty.
Oh, dear.
But mate, welcome back to the ocean. We have got a very interesting topic today. I think it's hilarious.
You do, yes.
I think it's one of the funniest topics that I could possibly cover. Mistakes you've made and things that you do differently. Now, come on, mate.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
You've made mistakes?
No, I listed them all down.
Yeah, there they are. That would be a blank piece of paper for people listening at home.
No, actually, the scary thing was I just jotted down a couple of notes. I ended up 5, 6 pages, and we might be having to label this episode the one where Tim actually feels normal again. Because
I don't think that'll ever happen.
I've made some great mistakes, some fantastic ones, but I don't know if anyone would really be that interested in them.
I think you would. Yes? Yeah. So, along the way, how long have you been doing this internet marketing caper for?
About 6.5 years.
Okay. So there's clearly things that I'm hoping there's things that you do differently and mistakes you've made along the way. So we won't number them, because every time I number something in an episode, I always forget where we're up to. But why don't you lead the way with a mistake?
All right. Well, let's start with the FWF3 website. Occasionally, I'll go and make an update. The price might change, or I'll speak to Alexi and he'll say, you should put like a list of 7 reasons why someone should come or whatever. So I'll log in and I'll put the reasons and save it. And then I'll get an email or a phone call the next morning from my friend Samuel. He says, hey, there's no order button on the website.
Ooh.
He goes, I'm trying to buy a ticket and there's no order button.
You need one.
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I better log in and put one. So, even now, 6.5 years later, to sell my own event, I occasionally wipe the order button code and don't check it. So
just on that, was there a number of different order buttons? Did you split test that baby out of the park, or?
Like you wouldn't believe, and we'll be going through that tomorrow at the event. But if you listen to this, we've already done it.
Yeah, correct.
That's weird.
Correct.
Can you get your mind
That's a
around
bit weird.
That? Yeah,
that's
weird.
Wacky.
So, interestingly, now I do split test, and that's when you're likely to make these errors. The more activity you do and the more complicated you try and make something, the more you open up the risk of something going wrong. So you know that old thing, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm. Don't break it.
Yeah, well, I quite often break things that are working perfectly in order to try and make them better, and I'm not that scared of it, but it does happen. In fact, I've got several mistakes along those lines. A similar one was when I was doing paid traffic, and I set up my campaign and I didn't bother to check it for a few days, and about $13,000 later in ad spend, I logged in to check it.
Yeah.
And it was good. I had the potential of making good commission from that if I had been sending traffic to the right page. So these things do happen. I do suggest you check, but not just you, maybe have someone else check stuff if you're getting into the higher stakes.
What did you say when you realised that that campaign had been running and $13,000
Something
had
like,
been spent?
Oh, bother.
Bother damn. Silly
yeah.
James.
Yeah, silly me. You know, and
No.
this is something that is probably an important highlight. That was a bit weird. So glad this is a podcast.
I'm just trying to make your beautiful daughter Jordan laugh. That's all, because you're in my line of sight, Jordan.
That's my 14-year-old.
14-year-olds think I'm funny.
And Tim's spanking his butt like you just don't care. That's not at all weird.
We might do this as a vodcast.
Yeah,
Hey?
we'll definitely take a screenshot of that part of the video right then. Okay, so one thing is, like, sometimes if we make a big gaffe like that, we actually get so scared of doing it again that we stop taking small risks.
Yeah.
And if I had have done that, I would have missed out on the next time that happened. I remember very clearly, I logged into my AdWords account, and overnight I had spent $7,000 or $8,000 again. Again. And you'd think I would have learnt the first time.
Oh, now you're looking silly.
I would have been, except that this time it was the right page, and I had doubled my money.
Nice.
Between when I went to bed and when I woke up, and all I'd done was tick the content network and just turned it on. So it was like taking a risk paid me back. So it's another one of those ones, you know, where when I blow $5 or $6 or $7 or $10 or $15,000 now, I usually figure out how that happened. I certainly try not to do it again, but it doesn't shy me away from still investigating. Do you want to hear another mistake?
Totally. Lots.
Okay,
Surely you've got lots. Tell me you've got lots.
I bought a domain, and I thought I'd bought it at auction, but what some of these sneaky auction sites do is they list their domains for sale in the same sort of space, just a little bit above or right nearby the auctions. So I saw the domain, and I grabbed it because it was reasonably priced, I thought, but I overpaid on the domain by probably $6,000 or $7,000. You know, so
Okay.
and then when I retro investigated the domain, I'd seen that it had been listed on several sites for at least 9 months.
So what's the learning there?
The learning was don't mix up your listed domains with your auction domains, because they're a completely different animal. The person listing their domain is trying to stag a sale price, and an auction is far more of a what something is worth. You know, yesterday we were hearing about something's worth what you pay for, you know, what the market will bear for it. So the auction is a more realistic gauge, but the listed domains are usually overpriced, because I buy a lot of domains and I almost always buy them for half or less what they list it for. So I guess because I made a mistake that time, I might have lost $6,000, but I have saved probably $50,000 or $60,000.
So hang on, how are you buying domains for half the price they're listed for? Because this isn't the listed price.
This is my premium domain buying process now. I think if I could wave a magic wand, what domain would I like for this website? And then I type it into the browser, and an incredibly huge amount of time it says this domain is for sale, and I think, you beauty. It's not being used, they haven't developed it, and I submit that little form that says, you know, make an offer. And I put in my offer, and they send me back there, no, sorry, we can't accept that. Our minimum is $468. That's the standard thing.
Do you go back and say, do you realise who I am?
No, I don't want them to know who I am.
Right.
Hey, I just spent like $500,000 on domains last year. I actually don't want them to know that I buy domains all the time.
No.
What I do is I say that I am making a decision on this domain by the end of the week. I have options. I can get a very similar one for $9, or I can have this one. You're asking $2,800, prepared to pay $750. And then they send back, look, the guy won't take anything less than $1,800. And then I'll come back and say, it's really not worth that much to me, but I would pay $1,250, but by the end of the week, I'm going to make a decision one way or the other. And they go and put pressure, time pressure and urgency on the seller. So the last domain that I bought like that, they wanted $10,000 for, and I bought for $5,000, and that was linkjuice.com,
Nice.
which is pretty
And
much...
you've been offered more than that since.
Well, literally the day after it, I hopped on a plane. I went to Texas, which is near your hot spot.
Told you.
Yeah, and
Tucson.
I mentioned to a friend of mine that I just bought it, and she said, I'll give you 10 grand for that domain right now.
Nice.
And so, of course, I say, not for sale.
No.
No way.
So do you realise who I am?
You know, that reminds me of the last
If it's
time
weird that we're sitting at the end of the couches each, like it's not that we don't want to get closer,
No,
but
but
you
we are-
sink there.
we're not lovers.
No, we're not lovers.
This is not a love seat.
Correct.
This is-
Correct.
So
This is the hot seat.
the last time I heard Do You Know Who I Am, it was when I was at Mercedes-Benz, and I hired this English guy.
Oh, this will be good.
He was a nightmare to hire. He had like visa problems. We had to sponsor his health.
Wasn't James Dyson, was it?
It wasn't James Dyson.
Siraj?
I'm lucky that he even lets me hire him occasionally to do designs. But no, this guy, he was like down to his last dollar, and he ran out of petrol and demanded that we come and pick him up. And I told him no. But then we went to a restaurant, and he's insisting on being served drinks. He goes, "Do you know who I am?" And he's waving his Mercedes name tag. I'm thinking, I know you are. You're a fucking tool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so no, I don't use that line.
You didn't say tool, did you?
May have.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so a bit of an error in that whole
You
domain.
know what I call a massive
world?
mistake? I call it an investment in experience.
Oh, I knew you'd have a phrase for it.
You have
I
to
knew
reframe
that.
it, otherwise you might feel down and beat yourself up.
Yeah.
So, and I also, the other thing is I immediately tell my wife, I say, I just did the most stupid thing. And that way I feel like I'm not hiding something. I was watching a great show the other night about repossessions, and this husband and wife come home in their wedding car with the tin cans, and the repo guys are repossessing the car. And she knew nothing about it. She said, "Did I just marry a loser? Did you just lie to me? This is my wedding day. You can't take my car." They took it anyway, of course, as you should. But well, it wasn't his car. But in any case, no, I think it's good to admit your mistake. That's the point. Admit your mistake and identify what you've learnt from it. So making that error, it taught me a few things. The other thing is I actually called up my friend Steve, and I said, I just effed up on this thing. Can you help me analyse keywords and position it? I want to put some effort into it and get myself out of trouble. And he helped me analyse it, and we sort of came up with a new way of thinking about that, and we've pushed that domain into a premium part of our business. And I truly believe that I'll get multiples back on that investment now because I actually have overcorrected, if you like.
One of the learnings from what you're talking about, and you know, James is very good at celebrating the good, the bad, and the ugly. So whether it be a mistake, and through the process of me getting to know James and doing Freedom Ocean, and in fact putting together a whole masterclass, he would just remind me, and I think it's a good thing for everyone to take away. Write this down, by the way. No, I just want to say that because I really like.
That wasn't
I loved how he
believable.
was,
No,
okay, write this down. Okay. What if I don't? But what I was going to say.
that was good. Did you write that down?
Yeah.
No,
But you've got to celebrate the win. So if it's that ebook you put up on your site, and that first PayPal notification comes through, you know, it can be very easy to go, oh, geez, after all that work, I finally got, you know, $37 back. But you know, you would say, do you realise what you've just done? Yeah. You know, you've created something, and someone somewhere has just gone and decided to give you a bit of dough for it. That's a good thing. And so celebrate the wins and the losses.
And the other, then really one of the highlights, and seriously, you should write this one down, is, so you got to say it seriously like that?
Yeah, I know.
It's got to be undetectable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Write it down, guys.
No, is that if you do make an error, don't stop trying. Keep doing it. It's like Tim with his nanocast. It's hilarious. But once you know how to do it and you're comfortable with it, that's no longer a barrier for you ever again. All right, let's find something else. Something I did, which is very rare, is I over-segmented my business. And we've been talking about the theme of segmentation, and I'm quite good at segmenting because of my dealership background. They used to really segment the dealership and understand the different departments. It was very departmentalised. And I actually over-segmented my email lists. I have a lot of email lists. I know because I looked up Steve-O's record and there's like 50 or something. But one thing that causes is that, firstly, some people might get more than one email from me when I broadcast, because even though it's supposed to merge it, they may have used different email addresses. I know when I send a test email, sometimes I get 7 or 8 from me, but at least with systems like Gmail, it bunches them together. But the other thing, and this is quite the funny thing, like how many people we got here? Like close to 200 people. Well, I actually sort of overlooked emailing out my 2 biggest email lists, which was my blog list with 13 or 14,000 subscribers, and my traffic grab list with 2,000 something subscribers who had already handed me $79. I sort of forgot to tell them about the event because they were kind of really segmented out. So
how far out are we talking from the event?
Well, no, I haven't actually emailed them.
Never?
No.
Oh, tell them now. I'll be listening.
You should really get along.
Yeah.
So I had every intention, but most of the people here have come from 2 main channels, and that would be affiliates and my previous event list. I'd say there's at least half the people here have been to one of the events before, so I did remember to email the event list, but I actually know which event they went to. That's why we have people from Dubai and the UK, and from the events that I had in Sydney and the Gold Coast. I actually segment by event, so I can communicate specifically. So it's good to segment, but just make sure that you're not overdoing the segmentation. So my aha moment was, right, the way that I'm going to measure my email segmentation now is I'm going to split it into verticals, which means podcast. If they join the podcast, I don't take them off the podcast because they obviously want to know when there's a new podcast. That's like a free vertical. There's my information products, and then there's my coaching products, and then there's the events. And then the next goal, so that's how it looks sideways, and then as you go up the list, you start free at the bottom, so like a waiting list, and then you go up to they've bought a product. And as you go up, then that's a more valuable part of your email segment. And the goal is to have the freshest list. So now I actually create a new event or reason to migrate people from an old list to a new list, and I actually pull them forward. So when I did a free business webinar a week or 2 ago, I said when they join that list, I'll take them off whatever list they were on in that vertical and move them up to that. So now I'm dealing with the freshest. That's how you get very high open rates. You can actually be fresh with your list. I pretty much broadcast now. I don't have many autoresponders at all in my whole email database.
Why is that?
Because fresh is best. It's
Fresh is
real.
best.
You know, I can have a real conversation with people.
You know the idea, many times with internet marketing offers and products, they ask for first name and email address. At what point do you ask for too much information?
I don't think it's bad to ask for a fair bit of information.
Because more information you ask, the more you're going to know someone who's signing up. But then it's a greater blockage to
We heard something
up.
today that's so true from Alexi, and that's that the buyer is worth more than the prospect. And most people who follow my stuff will know that I really don't chase opt-ins for the sake of opt-ins. I'm not squeezing all the time. Maybe that's a mistake, but the original business that I had, the affiliate model, I pretty much only collected email addresses of buyers. And I have a very solid list of buyers. Like virtually everyone on my list, apart from the podcast vertical, has bought something. And
What do we do about that?
Well,
Get that podcast vertical happening, I reckon.
See, that's where you come. It is happening.
We're making Grange. We're making Grange.
Can we ask the audience, and then we'll tell our listeners, just put your hand up if you came to this event via Freedom Ocean, perhaps. So have a look around there. There's dozens.
Wow.
Okay, well that's interesting.
Can I ask how many came from small business, big marketing?
Who's come from that? Both of you.
Bless
okay,
you.
no, seriously, it's like half a dozen.
There were 3.
Well,
no,
you know
there
what?
was more.
I think that those 2 podcasts complement each other.
Absolutely, they
That's
do.
not the topic though, so I've got to get you back on track here. Okay,
Right.
You know how I made a bit of a blue and I spent too much money on traffic? Well, the other thing I was doing was paying people to send me leads. That worked great until one morning I logged on and somebody had sent me 160,000 visits overnight. And
How much we were paying per lead at that point in time?
$1.
Ooh. That would be a lot of dollars.
Well, of the 160,000, and it was like the shittiest traffic ever.
Yep.
It actually melted Nanocast. It blew up their server. Sorry about that, everyone. My site was fine. You know why my site was fine?
Why?
Because I've blown up my site more times than you've had hot dinners. And I've learnt from
I
that.
don't know about that.
No, I've learned from that.
Had a few hot dinners.
You get,
10 seconds.
Get a bit. Actually, you're right.
Don't look at my stomach when I say that.
Yeah, clearly.
Sorry.
Okay, so I've learnt in the past.
$160,000. You just paid someone overnight for traffic.
No, they had 5,000 or 6,000 people opt in, so I'd racked up a $6,000 bill to my affiliate, who generously sent me all that traffic. The only problem is they were crap, and luckily, because I've had situations like this before, in my terms and conditions on my affiliate page, it says we reserve the right to scrub crappy leads. And I emailed him instantly and I said, hey, look, firstly, please stop sending the traffic. Secondly...
Do you know who I am?
Oh, dear. Secondly, I said, I will send Tim Reed around here to eat you. No, you've got to be... I mean, he's actually trying to do me a favour and send me traffic. What happened was he sent traffic, they opted in, he saw the money in his affiliate account. And he goes, this is good, I'm going to do more of it, which works pretty well in business, except I use double opt-in on my list. And after the double opt-in process, I was left with like 100 or 200, or only. So I emailed him and said, listen, I can't pay for this traffic, it's not good traffic. And I sent him $500 or $600 and said, let's just call it $500 or $600. How much did you spend on this? And he said, oh, about $300 or $400. And I said, look, let me just give you $500 or $600. We'll call it quits. And then I went and I changed my thing from $1 to 1 cent, and I have since then. So I'm not doing the paid CPA thing because you can't really control it when something like that happens. So I may have protected myself from long-term abuse from lesser numbers. The only reason I knew it happened is A, the buttons were missing off my websites. My PayPal stopped. If I don't have a payment within 1 hour in my PayPal, something's broken. And that meant Nanocast was down. Secondly, I had a visual website optimizer email saying I've used up my things and my tests are paused. I'm thinking, how could this be possible? 160,000 visits, it's not right. But I logged in, and sure enough, that it had happened and melted everything down. So a few lessons out of that one.
Does that make cost per acquisition as a strategy not a good one now? It's a good one,
but not if you're in the internet marketing space, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely... I know... Okay, here's another thing. I used to do a lot. Do you remember the big campaign where I made a lot of money that day? I kept promoting that thing and I was getting up to $3,000, $4,000 a day profit for quite a long time until they stopped paying me. And they stopped paying me because I sold too much of their product and they couldn't deliver and their customers demanded refunds. So I actually collapsed the business with too much traffic. Does that make sense? I basically put them out of business and then they couldn't afford to pay me, so I couldn't afford to promote and I got left with a small bill. It was only 6,000 or 7,000 in the end. But that really helped me start thinking about how do I get paid in advance? And we all know how that turned out because we were talking about it yesterday. It's really good to get paid first. But then, I could lead straight into another one, should I?
Go for gold.
Is this interesting, by the way? Normally we can't ask
the
people
human
live.
side of Shremco. Who would have thought? Hey?
Well,
who would have thought?
I know. And just one other thing with that server crashing. Try and put all your heavy images and videos somewhere else, like Amazon S3 or whatever. Don't put them on your server because it'll just suck you dry. And had I put all the media for Traffic Grab when I launched that, I would have crashed my server for sure because my Amazon bill was over $2,000 for the month.
That's a big bill on Amazon.
It's a lot of people watching 3 or 4 hours of video.
Next.
Well, next is... should we talk about the hoodies? Why I love hoodies so much?
Go for gold.
Why I like hoodies so much. They're great. I mean, one thing is...
Is this a mistake?
It is a mistake, yeah. I got my energy bill recently.
Okay, I know where this one's going.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we live in a reasonably large house and it's got underfloor heating. Yeah, and I don't know if anyone wants to have a wild stab at what your energy bill might cost. What would a reasonable energy bill cost? Can we get some suggestions? Was it $250? Yeah. $350?
Have I got $450?
Have we got $450? Have we got 500? We got 500 over there. Have we got 600, 700, 1,000? Do we have 1,000, 2, 3? Do we have 4? Do we have 5? Do we have 6?
350. What are you auctioning in our domain name?
No, $7,500. Yeah. Now this is the interesting thing. My energy
Over what
bill.
period of time?
Oh, this is one bill.
Yeah, no, like a month or a quarter. Okay.
So it was a whole 3 months. So
have you got an affiliate with the electricity company?
No, so I now know why the fuses were turned to off in the electricity board. I should have left them there. But we've actually been able to buy hoodies for every single person at Fast Web Formula 3 for less than my energy bill. So don't throw them away. If you ever visit my lab, you'll need your hoodie because there's no underfloor heating anymore.
No.
I also, DVDs, there's an interesting story about that.
Yep.
The original concept of having a physical product was that it looks quite substantial and it's a good physical thing and it's something real. And the DVDs can, in some instances, reduce the amount of theft because it's harder for people to rip them and download them, and also can reduce refund rates. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about refund rates and theft, and you're going to see that neither of those actually needed to be considered in that. The other thing was I used to speak from stage occasionally, and it's nice to have something to wave around that people can see they're going to be buying. But I made that commitment to get physical product, and then I changed my business model where I no longer speak. And to produce 1,000 DVDs, it costs about $12 per thing, hard costs. It's $12,000. So to film them might cost about $10,000. To produce them is another $12,000. And then you have to put them on a shelf somewhere, and I chose America because I've got a good audience over there. But then you've got these things and they send you a monthly bill to store them. Then they charge you to put them in a box, and then they charge you to post them, so your cost per unit actually gets up there, $30, $40, and they take too long to come to a faraway country. So I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to just get them shipped out here for the event. So I got 200 DVDs sent out here. How much do you think it costs to ship 200 DVDs out here? Shouldn't be that much, right? How much? No, it was only 3.5. But, so I'm literally selling these below cost.
Yep.
And I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing physical products anymore. It sort of flies against my whole point.
With video becoming so big and getting bigger by the day, and there's going to be a lot of people going out and creating video, I'm sure, would you suggest to anyone do DVDs, or they're it's dead?
If you need a physical thing, give people a USB stick.
Yeah, nice.
I've got the Mac Air. It doesn't even have a DVD drive. I don't use DVDs anymore. I can't remember the last time I used one. So I think they're good to put on the shelf and to watch once. So when I buy information products, I do put them into the iMac and I stream it. But I wouldn't go out of my way to create them anymore.
I always forget to rewind them. But what's your next mistake?
Well, okay, what you've got to watch. I bought too many domains.
Yeah.
As hard as it might sound.
Who's bought too many domains, by the way? I'll just put both hands up.
Yeah. So I've well over 2,000 domains now, and even at $10 each to renew, it's quite a recurring bill. But they get you with little jabs like who is and stuff. And my rep at GoDaddy kindly renewed them for me. And I looked at the bill and I said, no, this is not right. You've charged me like $8 or $9 for a who is. And he said, oh, no. I said, listen, I really consider this to be excessive, and I don't think you should be charging me that. And he actually credited my account back like $2,000 or $3,000.
Nice.
Just from asking. So here's my tip, check what you're paying and query it. So my old mentor taught me question everything. But if you just let it run, you'll rack up huge expenses. And one of the things I did is I didn't have a dashboard for too long.
You love your dashboard?
I love my dashboard because, okay, I'm generating millions of dollars now, and small changes make big differences. And I actually thought, you know what, I used to run a $100 million a year business, and we had a financial controller who was a bit of a spreadsheet junkie, and he used to give me stats every week. We're doing this and that and the other, and I could make changes. And I'm not getting information more than at least once a quarter. I just get a BAS bill, and I don't even know what it's made up of, and then I get whopping tax bills from time to time. Like the morning I woke up, I checked my inbox and said, oh, the tax department would like their $160,000, please. I'm like, oh, what a bummer.
Didn't know about that.
No, what 160,000? Oh, yeah, okay, sorry, we didn't tell you about it. Okay, well, I guess I better pay it. So make sure you keep a little reserve up your sleeve. But I thought, I'll get my old financial controller to come to my house and I'll pay him to go through my business and tell me from an accountant's, bean counter, non-emotional, no emotional investment in it, perspective what I should be doing in my business. Anyway, the long story is too long, so I'll tell you the short one. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get a hold of him easily. He's overseas, whatever. Life gets in the way. So I actually said, well, if he did come, what would I tell him to do? And then I just did it, and I just started doing the thing. And then the next evolution was I just started going into business units. I got my friend Steve-O up, made this Excel spreadsheet from hell. Like it's scary. I think it could run a spaceship.
Yep.
And we plugged in all the numbers for the last year and a half for one of my businesses, and we had a bit of an aha moment. Like, okay, we need to make some changes. And it was not quite as good as what I thought it would be, but there was huge opportunity. Within a few days of doing that, I had an offer on the table for that business, and I decided to keep it. But then I changed the whole ratio, and I changed everything about the business, and it's a substantially better business. So the real thing is, from now on, I'm not going to let a business grow so big before I sit down and analyse it a bit, because I tend to do things in 3 or 4 minute bursts. If it takes more than 3 or 4 minutes, I won't stick with it. So I make a lot of micro decisions in my business, and occasionally you've got to actually sit down and spend a few hours drilling out the numbers, drilling down into the data and finding out the stuff so that you can make decisions on it. So it could have been potentially very expensive to continue down that path.
Hearing you talk about this, it's one of the, it can be painful, that stuff. I know you love it. One of the things with internet marketing, me included, and I'm sure there's other people out there, you just want to create product. You want to create, whether it be information or whatever it is, and that dashboard and all that technical stuff can be so painful.
Well, it's because it's not tapping you on the shoulder and saying do it now, but the deadlines you set with customers are tapping you on the shoulder.
Yeah,
so we're always focused on what's urgent but not what's important.
Yep.
And that, the lawn keeps growing taller, eventually it covers the window, you have to go and mow it. But those spreadsheets that take a few hours to produce, they're not chasing you down. That's why they don't get done.
When was the last time you mowed the lawn?
I watched the guy out there on the tractor. We live on...
Answer the question, James.
Last time? Years.
Yeah,
years. I don't even clean the pool.
No.
But I look out and watch him.
I wasn't threatening him there. No one wasn't getting serious, right?
That's it.
How long have we got to go, Miss Timekeeper?
About 3-4 minutes.
5 minutes, very good.
You're normally the timekeeper.
I know, I'm kind of getting lost.
Is that a luxury?
Here. It's lovely.
Yeah, we should get Fiona to pop around when we're doing...
Absolutely.
Lives in the neighbourhood too. Kids are in the same school. Okay, so I'll tell you about my PayPal shuffle. That was hilarious. Mm-hmm. You know when you open up another PayPal account and you try and put a credit card because you want to do recurring subscriptions, and it says, no, we've already got that card. And I'm not a massive fan of credit anymore. And so I put my Visa card on my main account, and I opened another account and I didn't have a card. So when it comes time to pay the wages and stuff, I just shuffled, I mass paid $10,000 from one account to the other. I do that 5 or 6 times a month, and about $200,000 later I realised there's actually a fee on the other end.
Big fee?
$4,000 or $5,000 or something.
Big enough.
So I could have got a credit card and had a bit of fun with it for $4 or $5 grand. So I wasn't watching my numbers again. So
you got a few more mistakes there. Stakes.
You like to point that out, don't you?
But we are getting close to time. I'm really interested to know, out of all not out of just what you've mentioned, but do you have any major regret?
Yeah.
And or what leaves the most sour taste in your mouth of all the different things you've done in internet marketing?
Oh, that's a very negative question.
Oh, well, there's got to be... you'll put a positive spin on it, no doubt.
I don't really have regrets. That's a weird thing, because I'm actually not unhappy with where I'm at now, and I think I had to have everything happen to get to where I'm at. Is that weird?
Yeah, no, well, it's weird, but,
one of this...
We'll go with it.
One of the strangest things I did was I really built out my whole first business around somebody's trademark, which was dumb. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars and just had to give it up. I had to walk away from it because I outgrew the market, the product went a bit flat. It's still around, you know, but I don't think it's the best choice anymore, so I stopped selling it. And, you know, most people, when they're getting $5,000, $6,000 a month recurring, can't turn it off because they're greedy. But I'm not so greedy that I want to let somebody have the wrong solution. And I've redirected that now to Optimize Press. So much to James Dyson's delight, who enjoys making my logos, it's now pushing traffic to him.
How nice were his slides? I love it. I love.
You know what?
I have a bit of a slide fetish, and they were pretty good slides.
They were better. Apparently he's got tricky fonts, but in order to have those work, he would have had to give me the slides more than 3 minutes prior to the presentation.
Right.
so
great. Hey James, I've got a feeling there is probably another episode of Freedom Ocean.
No, definitely. I'm pretty sure we're out.
Enough. You're exposed enough.
Can I do one more?
Go for
one
it.
more.
As long as you want. As long as it's no more than a minute.
Selling my time's been probably the closest I've come to a regret. Is you've got to be very careful if you are in any type of coaching, mentoring, or selling your time basis. In other words, if you have to turn up to make the money, that's a kind of a shitty business model because there's only one you. And it really breaks my rule if it doesn't work without you. If you are going to sell your time, make sure you get a lot of money per hour, or try and do it on a per unit or something. So I now do small group coaching is like the maximum I want. I have very few one-on-one customers, and they're really keen to stick around, which is lovely. So I don't go out looking for more. I went, as soon as I realised it, and it was quite some time ago, I stopped taking customers. I put my fees up, and even that didn't stop people. So now it's just not even an option, because you can't get the time back. You're not going to be on your deathbed saying, gosh, I wish I spent more time building other people's businesses and helping them solve their problems. I think you'd rather spend time with the family or whatever. So I'd say guard your time like you mean it. Because now my team in the last month has doubled in size. My business, my primary business that they're working on, has more than doubled, and I now need to invest time in my own business. So here's my big tip. It's the big aha moment. Make you your number one client. So if you currently have clients, push them aside a bit. Make you the number one client for you. Work on your stuff first, and then work on the others when you're finished with you, and hold yourself accountable. Kick your own ass.
The yes/no thing that you often talk about.
The filtering.
The filtering.
Yeah, but you've got to look after yourself. My grandfather used to say, pay yourself first, and then same thing. Look after yourself first. Otherwise, you'll just be an employee with a job.
James, that would be episode 27 of Freedom Ocean.
Oh, we did it.
Done and dusted.
I had to bring you up to Queensland. Yeah, thank
you. What should people do if they want to get a little bit more of the love?
They should go along to freedomocean.com, and they should join our email list so that we send out the transcription of every episode as our special thing. But we also send bonuses that are not available anywhere else. They're exclusive.
Correct. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It has.
And I'm looking forward to the next episode real soon.
And I'm looking forward to my t-shirt that fits.
Thanks for diving into the Freedom Ocean with James Schramko and Tim Reed. You've just come that little bit closer to living the life you choose. Please keep in mind that the ideas, opinions, and information shared in the show are those of the hosts and do not reflect those of their past employers. And as far as future employers go, well, they're both pretty much unemployable.
Stop it. That was a bit camp.
It was a bit camp.
Yeah, I guess so.
What's wrong with camp?